So today I want to talk about some Bitcoin Thanksgiving conversation starters. And I think Gemini MasterCard with free Bitcoin cashback up to 4% is a fantastic tool. It's a fantastic tool for onboarding the sort of next generation Bitcoiners, which are, I've talked about in other videos, we're moving out of the early adopter phase into the early majority phase. And so I want to talk here in a minute about the Gemini MasterCard in more detail as a way to more easily, kind of warm up your friends and your family during Thanksgiving. It's basically just a normal, up to 4% cashback MasterCard that instead of earning, just like worthless fiat or declining in value very quickly airline miles, it actually gives you Bitcoin as sort of cashback. Plus, you get an additional free $200 worth of Bitcoin once you do your first $3,000 of spend during the first 90 days. So it's great. My wife and I have been using it for a little over a month now. And another great thing is that they have a referral program. So if you're making YouTube videos or you're sharing this with your friends, you get them to use your link. You get a $50 sign up bonus for everybody that, signs up and starts using the card. By the way, the link will be in the description below, and I'll also pin it as a comment. But before we get too fired up about all those benefits, I want to talk about kind of setting the table for Thanksgiving. I'm looking at some notes here because I want to kind of stay on track. And this approach is really going to be effective for sort of three categories of people. Maybe you're not a Bitcoiner yet, but you're sort of pursuing financial independence and you're interested in getting into Bitcoin. This is a great thing for you. You're interested in Bitcoin, but you're not sure, number two. And number three, you're an OG Bitcoiner. You've got your HODL stack, but you want to start, like what we're doing in this channel, you want to start integrating Bitcoin into your daily personal finances. So this Gemini card is a great daily driver for that. So in the past, I've talked a lot about, how I don't really orange pill people anymore. I don't come out of the gate just telling them how awesome Bitcoin is, even though it is. What I've discovered is that people are not going to accept the solution unless they understand the problem that the solution solves. So what do I mean by that? If you've been watching other Bitcoin videos and my content, you're going to be able to articulate the difference between price inflation, which everybody knows, everybody understands and experiences, and monetary inflation. So just starting a conversation around like, hey, how's inflation affecting you guys? Like, what's the deal with these grocery prices? And really just asking questions, being more curious about that. And what's great about that is really the solution is for the middle class especially is to start buying assets. Obviously, Bitcoin is the best of those assets, but you can also talk about gold and silver and certain equities and things like that. Getting to the point in the conversation that the only way to outrun inflation for the middle class is to actually, own assets. So I think that it takes the pressure off you having to try to start explaining Bitcoin. If and when you do get to the Bitcoin part of the conversation, then you've got a tool in your hand, the Gemini card, also the Fold card. My wife and I are using those two instruments in tandem right now to double stack sats. So the Fold card is great because it's basically like a Bitcoin checking account. You actually have a routing number and a checking account number. You can have a cash balance, a Bitcoin balance. They're all different kinds of ways through gift cards and spinning the wheel daily that you can get free sats. And so what we're doing is we're leveraging both of those tools, but this Gemini MasterCard it's up to 4% cash back, like on gas is 4%. I think restaurants, food is 3%, stuff like grocery stores and retailers is 2%, and then everything else is 1%. And then again, like I was saying a minute ago, what my wife and I do is we pay off the balance with the balance in our Fold card. So we're also getting rewarded with sats there as well. But I think that, just kind of the overarching idea with these Thanksgiving, conversations is to ask questions, be curious, be a conversation starter, empathize with their confusion, because a lot of people are just really, really confused and really freaked out right now about inflation. Remind yourself, especially if you're a Bitcoiner, remind yourself where you started. Like when somebody first mentioned Bitcoin to you and how crazy you thought they were, or just how hard it was to sort of grasp the concept. And just overall, just like breathe and just resist the temptation to kind of push, resist the temptation to share Bitcoin too soon, to share the solution too soon. It's really, really important that we help people understand. They already understand price inflation, but the reason for that price inflation is monetary inflation. And the central banks and even local banks who can create money out of thin air are creating that problem. So another thing too, as you're starting to, maybe get into the Bitcoin part of the conversation, you can also say, ask them what they already have. Like they can start getting Bitcoin if they've got, like a Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Robinhood, Coinbase, which I don't recommend, but they may already have a Coinbase account. Maybe they can go pick up some Bitcoin there, Kraken, Swan, River. Also, one of the things that we're talking about on this channel as well is generating passive income through Bitcoin covered call ETFs like BTCI. So you can start asking them questions like, hey, do you have a Roth IRA, an HSA? Do you have sort of like retirement accounts that you can start? But I think this overall is just kind of preparing for those Thanksgiving family interactions. It's just a really good mindset to get into. Like if you're not using the Fold card or the Gemini card yet, those would be great for you to go ahead and sign up to start using those so that you have the vocabulary of like, hey, yeah, man, I just bought, $60 worth of gas and I got, 4% cash back on that. So I'm already stacking sats in there. I'm on my way to spending my 3,000. So I'm going to get, $200 worth of Bitcoin. It's just a very granular way of, kind of leading the conversation and just, expecting that it may still get awkward. That's okay. More and more, I believe, of the middle class is going to wake up to Bitcoin as a solution to both monetary and price inflation in their own personal lives. Not everybody's going to get it. Most people are still not going to get it, but that's okay. We're just looking to try to encourage the ones that are. So if you find this kind of talk helpful, this kind of, melding of personal finance, FIRE movement, and Bitcoin, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, and share the video with somebody and I'll see you in the next video.